It's the beginning of July 2019. We're in the Luhansk region, in the village of Komyshne, located on the border with Russia. We came here to talk to the relatives of the Ukrainian political prisoner Serhiy Litvinov. This is the house that he grew up in. His mother and two brothers now live here. Can we ask you something? Are you Serhiy's brother?
Yes.
And what do you do?
Our mother is retired.
Yes.
I work for a boss in Luhansk village.
And what do you do there?
I help around the house. We pull weeds, we cut the grass. I have a cow grazing here, and there we help people feed themselves.
I see. So you earn like that?
Yes, it's my way to earn some money. There used to be jobs, and now there are none. Serhiy has been doing the same, looking after cows, working for different people. Yes, come on in. It's just a mess here. The rat work a lot, so am I. These are our ducklings. We have a dog. Cows are grazing on the field. Pigs, 2 gardens, a hay cutter. We cut the hay ourselves while we still have health, keeping it all together. We'll sell a jar of milk for a kopeck. That will be enough for a sugar and cigarettes. And that's how we survive. Hey, Kolya, pass the phone to your mother. Listen, Ma. The journalists are here. Maybe you can chat with them.
Hello, Lyubov Petrovna. Why are you crying?
I got into debts last year and now I need to work them off. I live off just what my cow produces. I'll sell 2 jars of milk and that's all I'll have. My pension is not enough. I have 6 people to feed, 6 children. My youngest, my son, is living just outside of Moscow, in Penza.
And how come you're in debt?
Well, you get hungry, so you borrow money. And now it's August, so I need to pack a parcel for my son. So I have to borrow more money to buy things for him.
We visited your son. He said he really wants to see you.
I know.
He talked about your gray hair.
I know, child. But if you visit him, tell him a big hello. Tell him his mother misses and cries for him. And to come home faster, alive and well.
Would you like to go visit your son?
I'd like to, child, but I don't know how to get there.
We met with Serhiy Litvinov 2 weeks earlier at Kharkiv's colony number 12. At that point, it was his 4th month sitting there. Right now, we are here at the Dekanivska colony in Kharkiv, where we met with you, Serhiy Litvinov, a political prisoner who was sentenced to 8.5 years imprisonment by a Russian court. What are you doing here?
I myself don't know what I'm doing here.
Why is Litvinov sitting in the Kharkiv colony? To understand this, we need to rewind a little further. Now we're in 2016, Russia. Tarasovsky district court in the Rostov region. Litvinov is here too. He is on trial.
When was the first time you saw Lysenko Alexander, the victim in the case?
When he was brought to the pre-trial detention center in Rostov for the confrontation. That's where I saw him. I've never seen him in my life.
Before that, never?
I swear to God, I'd never seen him.
The Ukrainian is on trial for robbery. They are accusing him of stealing a car from a local resident called Lysenko while there was fighting in the village of Kolesnikivka in the Luhansk region in 2014.
Do you drive?
I don't know how to drive a car. I don't have a license, except for a motorcycle license.
He couldn't drive a car, he's never been to the village where he allegedly stole these cars, and he saw the victim for the first time during the confrontation. The whole case came down to the fact that the victim saw this Ukrainian vigilante on TV and recognized him as the thief of his property.
For at least 1.5 years, they've been holding me illegally. An innocent man is being held in Russia. I'm telling you.
For me, the most important thing is that he wasn't in the village of Kolesnikivka. Did not see Lysenko Alexander, a Russian citizen, and did not take his cars with the help of 2 Ukrainian servicemen.
And that's what he is being accused of?
That's what he is being accused of.
But this is the second case Litvinov is being tried for in Russia. Initially, he was charged not with taking cars from civilians while participating in a volunteer battalion. He was accused of something much worse.
С Литвиновым случай особый. Здесь нужно поподробнее. Вот этот человек, он каратель. Поступил в батальон Днепр-Коломойского за деньги. Прошел подготовку для зачисток сел, захваченных украинскими силовиками. Пытал да убивал.
Litvinov was accused of killing 39 civilians in the Luhansk region and raping 8 females, including a 12-year-old girl.
He didn't kill anyone. We don't even know such things as guns and pistols. We know shovels, forks, hammers and all.
He doesn't know anything other than a hammer and a shovel.
Of course, this is all made up. He never left the village. All he knows is digging hoe and a shovel. If you take him to Luhansk, he won't find his way around.
Родной батальон Днепр теперь от Литвинова отказывается, вполне в духе блатной культуры. Мол, не знаем такого, первый раз слышим.
It was all made up. This is clearly a political motivated indictment. The main defendants, there are your former defense minister Helete, incumbent interior minister Avakov, Komyshne. They accuse him of financing these punitive operations, that Komyshne himself came with bags of money and distributed it to the participants of punitive operations, as well as others high-profile representatives of Ukraine's government, whose involvement within the case is being established.
So where did this really start? And how did Litvinov, a cow herder from the village of Komyshne, end up in a Russian court on all these charges? Let's start with how Litvinov ended up in Russia.
I got a cold, had an abscess, a phlegm in the throat. I couldn't go anywhere in my area because everything was occupied.
The closest hospital to Komyshne is 18 kilometers away, in the village of Stanitsa Luhanska. But in August 2014, the village was captured by the so-called Luhansk People's Republic militants. So Litvinov decided to go to Russia for treatment, buy food.
I went to Mrs. Galia, and she said, "You need to get surgery at the Tarasovsky regional surgery department."
And who is this, Mrs. Galia?
She's a doctor at our medical center. She sent me here. I made it to the border.
I come home and my mother tells me, Serhiy is in jail.
And do you know why?
I don't know for what. I know that he went to the hospital, and that's it. He had a toothache.
I don't know anything. He had a toothache. Nobody said anything to me. He was sent to Russia, to a hospital in Mityakinskaya. And then he ended up in prison.
Why did you go to the Tarasovsky region and not in the city of Luhansk, for instance?
I was afraid.
Who were you afraid of?
The Ukrops.
So you were afraid of the Ukrops? You supported the militias?
Of course.
At the Russian border hospital, Litvinov had the luck to run into fighters of the so-called LPR, who were treated there for combat wounds.
There were 3 militants there who started asking me about the war. I said, I don't know anything about the war. Then they asked whether I held a referendum. There was no need for me to hold referendums, as I had children to feed, to buy clothes and shoes for them. I said that I don't do politics, I don't need it. They offered me a drink. Said, let's drink. That Denis Dodonov did. I said, okay, let's have a drink.
The Ukrainian man seemed suspicious to the militants, and they handed him over to Russian law enforcement. That's how he ended up in a Russian prison, but not immediately.
People dressed in black jumped out. They put me into a car and took me to the Donbass and tormented me until the night fell. They tortured me with a blowtorch, beat me, shot at crotch level. They tore off my Orthodox cross, took my mobile phone, broke my glasses. They attached an explosive, asked if I had fought in this Dnipro battalion. I said that I had never fought. I'm a peaceful citizen. Then they tormented me some more and brought me back to the hospital.
Russian law enforcement officers took Litvinov from the hospital. He was tried as a Ukrainian vigilante from the Dnipro No. 1 battalion for murder and rape. But Litvinov's lawyer found that there were no names of victims, nor any victims themselves, and streets on which these victims lived didn't exist. The investigative committee of the Russian Federation even apologized to Litvinov.
What is Donbass in your opinion?
I don't know what Donbass is. I only know what my village is and nothing else. I don't know anything else about all these villages, about the Donbass. Who they're under, what's there, and how. Why are they fighting? Who is fighting for what? I had no time to think about that.
But Litvinov was not released. They found something else to charge him with: robbery of the same cars that he allegedly took from the village of Kolesnikivka. He was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. He had served 5 of them, mostly in Magadan. In Russia and annexed Crimea, more than 100 Ukrainians are imprisoned on fictitious charges. Ukraine, as a state, does not officially acknowledge these crimes and considers the cases political. Nevertheless, the Ukrainian court recognized the Russian court's decision. That's how Litvinov, after spending 5 years in Russian colonies, found himself in a Ukrainian colony.
When I came to him to conclude an agreement, I saw that they have these special signs they wear, which indicate that they are more likely to try to escape. These mean additional conditions. For example, they get checked upon every 2 hours. Stricter conditions, basically. He still had this sign when he was transferred to Ukraine. It was only taken off when I started working with the case. So for 3 months in Kharkiv, he was marked as inclined to escape.
In Magadan, everyone wrote to Litvinov, from the then Foreign Minister Pavlo Klimkin to workers from the Ukrainian Ministry of Justice. In the Kharkiv colony, everyone seemed to have forgotten about him. No one was interested in the Ukrainian political prisoner for 4 months.
He calls me every week. I'm hungry, I'm tired of eating bread. And what can I do? I want to smoke, I want tea, bring me a black tracksuit, black sneakers. And what am I doing to buy that with? I can't afford that for myself.
I'm here in Kharkiv now. Let everyone know. Let the whole world know. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes.
In the Kharkiv colony, Litvinov had no other choice than to ask the Ukrainian president to pardon him.
I'm asking for this decree by the Ukrainian president to be fully complied with now. I served my sentence in the Russian Federation. I have 2 children, Zhenya and Nina, and a good wife, Elena, and a mother, a pensioner, with many children. She's old. I haven't seen her for 5 years. I haven't seen her grey hair. I want to see my family, that's what interests me the most. I want to see my mother. My mother is holy to me.
There is unfortunately simply no procedure for Litvinov's case. Although we understand that by asking for pardon, we are actually admitting that Litvinov is guilty and that he allegedly repents before the Ukrainian people, that he committed a crime. This is absurd, of course. However, there was no other way to free this person.
After we met with Litvinov in the Kharkiv colony, his case was quickly brought to the President's Pardon Commission. This case, how long did it take?
It's quite quick. After he was transferred to Ukraine in March, I think that was for 2 or 3 months, he was in the penitentiary or in the detention center.
in the Kharkiv colony?
Yes, and then there was an announcement in media that he is here in prison in Ukraine. I felt that it would happen soon, a couple of days. The Ministry of Justice made a very interesting statement. We received a letter in which they offered to consider the issue. Period.
Of a pardon?
Yes. They did not ask for the pardon. The Ministry of Justice only asked to look at the issue, leaving the opportunity to consider and refuse.
By the way, speaking of the Ministry of Justice, they criticized the interview we recorded with Litvinov in the Kharkiv colony, saying that it was detrimental to the process of bringing other Ukrainians home. The Deputy Minister of Justice, Serhiy Litvinov, handled the legal side of Litvinov's transfer from the Russian to the Ukrainian colony.
Sometimes it is better to remain silent than to speak.
We'll try to relay this. Serhiy Litvinov explains on his Facebook page how damaging our interview is. Because of it, Russia, allegedly, might not return anyone else here, nobody else to serve out this sentence, in Ukraine.
The hype around Litvinov's case is unlikely to help us in our work to bring back Ukrainians convicted in Russia.
The hype surrounding Litvinov's case is quote-unquote unlikely to help, so it's not certain yet. The Deputy Minister of Justice did not find time to speak with us. The Ministry of Justice also did not respond to our written questions on whether there were additional agreements between Russia and Ukraine to release Litvinov as long as it wasn't done publicly. The Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Union, which helped Litvinov with a lawyer in Ukraine, also suggested that our interview with him is detrimental to other Ukrainian political prisoners. Did we really break the agreement between Russia and Ukraine in the fact that Litvinov was set free in the end?
There were no agreements that Litvinov would serve the sentence without an alternative. It was then Ukraine's prerogative regarding the treatment of this person, including other ways of punishing him or deciding to release him, if there are grounds for that. We are not talking about any kind of pact, agreement, or something else. It is clear that this will not help use this procedure for those detainees we spoke about.
Do you agree with me that this is just an assumption?
Yes, it's an assumption. Let's regard this my personal assumption.
I think the Russians knew about the possibility of him being released, and it doesn't matter in which way. The media could have only done harm while the person was in Russia's hands. As soon as the person was in Ukraine's hands, it is no longer possible to harm the situation. How can it?
Well, that now the rest of the detainees that are in Russia's hands won't be returned.
But they weren't being returned anyway. What has changed?
Well, let's suppose for some time that by reporting on the fact that Litvinov is held in a Ukrainian colony, journalists really did expose some secret that wasn't meant to be exposed. But then why was Litvinov himself not made aware of the circumstances of his release? From 2014 to mid-2019, Russia handed over 444 of our citizens to Ukraine for further punishment. The figure had been growing steadily. In 2014, 39 Ukrainians were handed over to us. In 2015, 19. In 2016, 34. In 2017, 91. And 116 in 2018. In the first half of 2019, 145 citizens were handed back to Ukraine. But for the first time, the list of those transferred includes a person who is officially considered a Ukrainian political prisoner and regarding the illegal imprisonment of whom Ukraine is suing Russia in the European Court of Human Rights. Why did this happen? There is still no law on political prisoners in Ukraine. There is also no mechanism for the release of Ukrainians here in Ukraine if they are transferred from Russia as ordinary criminals to serve out the rest of their sentence.
In such cases, a normal situation would be to make changes to the Criminal Procedure Code. According to these changes, the court would hold power during the transfer of prisoners. For example, if the case is considered politically motivated. This simply requires political will. They can be adopted straight away. But I don't think anyone will do it now, because that means additional finances, that means recognizing that there is a war, and many other things. There are no legal reasons not to accept them. But I believe there are political reasons.
On July 13th, 3 weeks after our interview, Litvinov was released from the colony. Another 3 weeks later, we came to visit Litvinov in his village.
Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. I want to hug my mum, who I haven't seen in 5 years, to work, to live, to clothe my children, and live with my beautiful wife. Well, now I'm left without anything. I have turned to the hospital for help. I've been prescribed with medication for my eyes and my knees. But I don't have the money to pay for anything.
What's the issue with your eyes and your knees?
My eyesight is poor.
And the knees?
My knees, everything here is damaged and broken after all the tortures. All of this is registered with the doctors here.
A month after his release, Litvinov found out that his family, as the family of a political prisoner, was supposed to receive an equivalent of nearly $4,000 last year. This amount was transferred to his mother because he is not officially married to his wife. But Litvinov says that the money did not reach him or his wife. So you're saying that they spent all of your money?
Yes, they bought a motorcycle. Now that I'm free, I have nothing. This motorcycle is now in the yard that you saw earlier.
If she spent everything, then how will she pay it back?
She's a pensioner for a start. Let the brothers who hang around her neck pay. They had control of this card. She went to Oshad Bank and they would not leave the bank in Stanica Luhanska. I went to this bank myself and was told all of this, and I have a document to prove it with a stamp. Those 100,000 hryvnias belong to me. There's only 7 hryvnias left. I do not consider her my mother. She told me, "You're not my son. I'm not your mother. I'm asking for this woman to be punished in accordance with Ukrainian law."
We met Litvinov's mother and her youngest son on the road in the village. They had a new motorcycle with them. Lyubov Petrivna confirmed that the police had visited her and that her relationship with her son Serhiy was in a bad place.
I have nothing to hide. He even hate me because of the money. But if I didn't take it, I don't know where the money went. What? How? I don't know. I told the police the same thing.
So you're not happy that he returned?
I'm not happy that he's back. I'm not happy.
The sons say that they earned the money for the motorcycle and for the satellite dish. With this conflict unresolved, we leave the Litvinov family in the village of Komyshne, in the Luhansk region on the border with Russia.
Только толкать будем, а вы нас... А вы нас проводите.